While we get this addressed, so I'm leading the interior sensing business unit with Tobii. Some of you may have met me under a different brand last year. So earlier this year, Tobii has acquired the interior sensing business from Xperi, the DTS AutoSense. And myself and the DTS AutoSense team are now part of Tobii. You may ask yourself what comes out when the world tracking iLeader company acquires the team that has put the first occupancy monitoring solution on the road. That's something that I will definitely touch upon today. But my subject today is Innovation Unleashed. And I will talk about a few steps trying to explain how we see the future, but also how are we going to move towards the future. So I will talk about the present day, I will talk about the first big step towards the future, and I will talk about the future, but not in this order. So as I have used you in the previous events, I will start with the end and talk a bit about how do we envision the future. And last year we have done some study working together with people who think out of the box, are not tied to, let's say, our engineering mindset, where we're sometimes looking for problems for the solutions that we already have. And we work, for instance, with a Hollywood producer, you may have seen it in Phoenix last year, and try to think how the InCabin will look like in the future. And we came up with the term evolving cabin and a number of fancy words, as you can see here on the slide. There are some key points that this evolving cabin is all about. And the first one is that when we're thinking about our technology, we should think about the user, first of all. It is, in order for the cabin to be a third space, it needs to be designed in such a way that it focuses on the user. The other interesting thing is that InCabin is a combination of a space and a place. It is a combination of a digital world, but is also touching upon the real world because it takes you places. And maybe the most important thing about the evolving cabin is that it needs to rethink and redesign the human-to-machine interaction through a bi-directional learning, in the sense that the interior needs to adapt, anticipate, and evolve based on the engagement with the user. For instance, considering the user personal and social background, their interests, their job profile, and so on and so forth. So that is the vision that we came up with. Okay, that's amazing. What does this mean? So we look at it in terms of what does this mean for the users, as we like to call the buyers of the cars, and for us, the technology makers. So what we have here above the sea level is what matters to the user. And we have identified 4 key pillars related to entertainment, productivity, well-being, as well as HMI. Actually, some of these topics will be later debated in panels, which I will invite you to attend to. Another key thing is that these 4 pillars need to rely on a foundation of safety and privacy, which is basically the main focus of in-cabin sensing today. And this is what the user sees and cares about. Now, what do we need to do in order to make this happen? And that's where the word intelligence comes into place, right? As a wrap-up, Edge AI will be able to provide the car the analytics, the information, the perception, in order for it to be adapting to the user needs. And on one side, of course, we're talking about machine learning, computer vision, and any other type of sensing research that can make this happen. This comes tightly coupled with our evolution of hardware and sensors, as we'll most likely hear in few minutes. On the other side, we're talking about embedded software, where we're talking about the need to provide information to the car real time. And here, of course, the relationship between the technology makers and the platform makers and the accelerators roadmap has a key role to play. Lastly, but super important, is data. Data is even lower behind the hood. But data is mandatory in order for us to be able to provide the level of quality and user experience of our technology. And here we talk about advancements and in making data production more effectively, or about synthetic data that can be as realistic such that it can be used for real-life testing. So, in a wrap, that's what we're aiming towards, and us as an ecosystem here, we should focus in the next coming years on the lower part of this slide. Now, having a vision is great, right? We know where we're heading, we know which is the direction, but it only solves half of the problem. Knowing where you're heading doesn't mean anything unless you're starting to walk towards the direction. And this is where actually the Tobii acquisition comes into place. I'm happy to announce that within our joint forces, we are making the vision that we came talking about in the past 2 years a reality by designing a solution that focuses both on regulation as well as user experience, that focuses both on drivers as well as the rest of the occupants. And that, of course, integrates on one side the reliability coming from the accuracy of the products developed in the past by Tobii, as well includes, say, the creativity and innovation of the legacy DTS AutoSense team. Again, before getting into some more details there, I want to move to the present day and highlight where do we start from, right? So we know where we want to head, the car as a third space, an evolving cabin, but where are we today? Well, we are in a position where our full focus is safety. We are doing a great job there. InCabin is fully focused on it. It has a very meaningful roadmap, which is quite connected to the industry. You have heard, most likely, Adrian Capata earlier this morning. At the same time, we also have driver monitoring solutions based on computer vision already on the road. And they're doing a quite good job. They have nice KPIs and so on. So we're doing quite well, we might say. Or are we? The regulations driven by InCabin cannot convince the drivers or the users that DMS is something useful. Actually, if you heard Adriano earlier, he highlighted that even InCabin sees this as the biggest risk. We're building some technology, we're regulating it, and we're annoying the user. And unfortunately, that's actually what is the initial feedback from the drivers. They are reluctant to driver monitoring technology. They are annoyed at times by it, and definitely they don't see its value. We as technologists may say that doesn't make sense. We're building great stuff and we are saving lives, right? What's the problem? The problem is relatability. So when the collision avoidance system from the car intervenes and stops me from bumping into the car in front of me, I do see the value. But if I'm driving and a funny icon pops up that I need to rest for a coffee, there is no danger, there is just something that distracts me for what I want to do. So definitely, in terms of me as a user, I cannot relate to how DMS is helping me today. We think that the main problem of today can be summarized in one word, which is monitoring. In 1981, Professor Ola Svensson did a study about the drivers measuring their own ability in terms of driving skills. And that was one of the proofs of the Dunning-Kruger effect. The majority of the drivers, about 60%, mark themselves as top 20% skilled drivers. So we are all good drivers. And then, how can DMS help us? And the short answer is that it can't. Our mission here is to actually hide this type of technology from the user and find ways and use cases to make it meaningful for them. Last week, as I was taking the Uber from our office in Stockholm to the airport, I started to talk to the driver who was driving a Tesla Model 3. And of course, one of my questions was about DMS. Have you noticed the latest software update from Tesla? Do you like it? Did you see DMS there? And he said, yes, I love it. And I was pretty shocked because in general, people do not like DMS. I said, wow, what do you like about it? And he was like very open and said, I will show you. So here we are at the traffic lights and the red light is on and I will pretend I'm not paying attention. And the car will beep me and will make me, figure out that I need to start. I said, wow, that's amazing. Between us, that's actually Tesla's, traffic light chime feature, which, if we are to be so detailed to look at technology level, it has nothing to do with DMS. But that driver taught me a very good lesson. The one thing that we need to do going forward for in-cabin sensing is to make things obvious for the users, to make it very obvious that there is something there that they care about. Easy to say. Now, how to do that? What is the next step? Or what is the first step, right, if we are aiming towards our third space vision? And that first step is to think about users rather than drivers. To think that our goal is not to monitor drivers for mistakes, but is to help users have a more convenient driving experience. And to move from monitoring to attention, and that's what actually Tobii's attention computing idea is all about. So the way we are addressing this is that we are in the process of finalizing a single camera interior sensing solution that will hit the market next year, and first of all, will be fully compliant with the regulation roadmap. This has been a key objective for us, a big technological challenge, but not just a technological challenge. From technology point of view, of course, we had to take technologies that were previously deployed to the market, like driver monitoring and occupants monitoring, to redesign them for the new system, and at the same time to add brand new functionality that is forward-looking and also addresses NCAP requirements from beyond today. But the other side of the challenge was actually the fact that the whole ecosystem needed to do a mental shift that was not necessarily prepared for. So we have faced industry reluctance. We had to think about what is the right way to design the solution such that it's cost-friendly. And of course, to think about how can we add all this safety functionality, but also bring up end-user benefit, such that we link this product with potential revenue as well. So let me get to them one by one. So in terms of industry reluctance, a few years ago, every time we were discussing with someone in the industry about this, they were saying that no, it doesn't make sense, you need a special system for eye tracking, it won't work, it's impossible. We have managed to show it's feasible, and some of our ecosystem partners have reacted immediately. They have changed their product requirements, they have changed their technology roadmap. And as this fast mover changed, very soon you will see the results in the market. Actually, as I said, next year. The next step is actually the proof, having this solution on the road. This is the first major step, and it's the game changer. Why is it the game changer? Because the market will shift from a feel of reluctance to a sense of urgency. This solution enables tier ones and OEMs to address multiple regulation requirements through a single hardware system. It's too good to be ignored from cost point of view. The world that we live in today is that for, simplistically saying, if InCabin comes with a new requirement, we need to build an extra system for it. So we get into this loop where our costs keep increasing and increasing, and there is no end user value to recover this cost. So the single camera solution is actually putting an end for this. It's one system that is able to address today's needs as well as tomorrow's needs. The other important thing is that on top of addressing the requirements and the regulation, the single camera solution is also planting the first seed of our vision, differentiation. So on top of what is required, we are also deploying signals that can enable use cases that are meant to help the user, not just protect them from doing mistakes. This is actually the step that we believe will shift the whole perspective within the market. There is a saying in Romanian, which is something like, I am too poor to buy cheap shoes. The same thing, maybe in English, is buy cheap, buy twice. Even the parts of the ecosystem that are fully cost-driven will not have a choice. Reducing the negative can never compete with positive. As long as there is a solution where you can recover revenue from the end user, that will be much better than any way to make your DMS cheaper and cheaper, and so on. Before becoming part of the automotive world and the in-cabin sensing ecosystem, I spent over a decade in different consumer markets, and one of them was actually the smartphone. So I was fortunate enough to experience the whole mobile phone transformation, as my role at that time was to bring smart camera technology into the phones. And when I was doing this, there was this niche market, or niche piece of the cell phone market, the smartphone, which was actually not respected at all by the industry leaders. Who would pay $1,000 for a phone? That's stupid. It will never work. And the whole vision was the only way to make money is to focus on the volume. And the volume was the cell phones, which were low, mid, and high-end cell phones. And this was something for geeks that will never fly. This whole thinking concept had a small flow, and that whole small flow changed the market totally. A $1,000 smartphone was much cheaper and provided much more value to the end user. A smartphone was something that integrated applications from multiple systems. The cell phone, the gaming device, the digital camera, just to name the few, added extra use cases on top of it. And that's why, a few cycles later, the low end, the mid end, and the high end of the mobile market became smartphones. We need to do this type. Of course, here we're not talking about smartphone revolution, but the mere in-cabin sensing roadmap and how it can, to some extent, shape the future of the car interiors. But some things apply exactly. One of them is the systems shift. The fact that one system can provide more functionality and thus more revenue than multiple systems is the way for us to build a viable in-cabin sensing business by itself. Just to be clear, today, as DMS is something that we need to do because of regulation, so it's a cost, it's a cost paradigm, it's not a revenue paradigm. If we are able to do this, if we are able to provide sufficient value to the user to have the whole in-cabin systems as a viable business, then we will be able to reinvest. If we are able to reinvest, then we will remove more technology barriers on the algorithmic side, on the artificial intelligence side, on the sensor side, on the platform side, and so on and so forth. And we will actually be able to reach that evolving cabin vision that I have started my speech with. So, to summarize, we are here in the moment where we have core DMS technology there, a very good regulation roadmap, products are on the road doing a good job. The user, as you have actually heard Adriano earlier, even NCAP worries about it, is not ready to see the value of what we have today. The single camera interior sensing solution, which combines safety functionality and user experience functionality, is meant to bridge this gap. As we bridge this gap, we are doing one step, but a very important step to the evolving cabin. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention and patience. Hopefully this was something of your interest. If it's really of your interest, I invite you to booth 100, where we have demonstrations of the technology that I have talked about. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Thanks very much, Adi, for the interesting presentation. We have chance for some questions. Please raise your hand. Okay, Adi, I know you have a demo on your booth downstairs. Maybe you could explain a bit more about what people can see on the demonstration.
Sure. So some of the core analytics, my discussion today was about concepts and products and so on. If you want to actually see the signals, the accuracy, the demo of functionality that is implemented through the single camera interior sensing solution, that's what you will see there.
Super. Okay, in which case we'll move on and let's thank our speaker again. Thank you very much.